The courtroom on planet Torgal was the largest in the sector. Built from black stone and glowing steel, it had judged thousands of criminals over centuries. But today, the seats were full and the air was tense. Every being in that room had heard. The whispers, the rumors, the fear. She's not normal. She's human, but different. She destroyed the entire prison ship alone. High Judge Kron stood behind the great podium. His 4 glowing eyes scanned the room. His voice echoed like thunder. Bring in the prisoner. A heavy door opened with a hiss, and there she was, a small human woman wearing torn clothes. Her wrists and ankles were locked in thick metal chains. 2 armed guards pulled her forward, but she didn't fight. She didn't speak. She didn't even blink. The crowd laughed. Is this the monster? One alien scoffed. She looks half dead. My hatchling is scarier than her. She didn't react, not when the chains pulled her arms, not when they pushed her knees to the cold floor, not even when the guards aimed plasma rifles at her head. She just looked forward, calm, silent, high. Judge Kron narrowed his eyes. Name? She didn't answer. One of the guards kicked her shoulder. The judge asked you something. Still nothing. The room grew restless. Judge Kron turned to the lead investigator. Tell us how she was found. The investigator, a thin alien with 6 arms and a shaking voice, stepped forward. My lords, we found her at the site of transport ship K-92. The ship was carrying 43 high-level prisoners. It crashed. When we arrived, all other life forms were gone. Gone? The judge asked. Dead? No, erased. There were no bodies, no blood, just ashes, and her. The crowd went silent. She had no weapons? The judge asked again. Nothing. No armor, no tech. She was just standing there, alone. The judge studied her face. Still blank. Still quiet. Then he gave the order, bring in the predator. Gasps filled the courtroom. Even the guards hesitated. No, one whispered. You can't, she won't survive. She's already dead, another said. She just doesn't know it yet. The floor beneath the judge cracked open, and a cage rose up. Inside was the most feared creature in known space, the human predator. A nightmare made real. It stood 7 feet tall, with claws like swords and armor fused into its flesh. Its red eyes burned. Its mouth was full of metal fangs. It was created to hunt anything, and it had never lost. Until now. The moment the predator saw her, it froze, its muscles tensed. Its breath quickened. She raised her head slowly and looked at it. Just one look, and the predator whimpered. It stepped back, growled. Then something impossible happened. It sat. Not like a beast, not like a killer. It sat like a trained animal. Then it lowered its head to the floor. At her feet, the courtroom exploded in shouts. What is this? It's broken. No, it's afraid. Judge Kron stood up in disbelief. That's impossible. The predator doesn't submit. But there it was. Silent, obedient, still. The woman blinked once. Then finally spoke. You made it from pain. And now it remembers mine. Her voice was soft, human, but it felt like a blade across skin. The predator growled again. This time, not in anger but warning. The guards stepped back, unsure. Judge Kron slammed the podium. She's a threat. Mind control. Execute her now. One guard tried to lift his gun. His hand shook. Then stopped. He couldn't move. The other guard reached for his weapon too, but his knees locked. His breath caught in his throat. None of them could move. The woman hadn't moved an inch. She was still kneeling, still chained. And yet, every soldier in the room felt it. A weight in the air, heavy, crushing, like gravity itself had bent around her. She's doing something. A voice shouted. No, another screamed. She's not doing anything. That's the problem. The predator stood now. between her and the guards, its eyes glowing. But not at her. At everyone else. Then the doors opened again. Everyone turned. A figure walked in. An old alien, scarred and armored, wearing medals of war. General Thrax, the galaxy's most feared war strategist. He looked straight at her. And froze. No one had ever seen him hesitate. But now, he looked like he had seen a ghost. He stepped forward slowly. "It's really you," he whispered. She said nothing. Judge Kron growled. "You know this creature, General?" He nodded, slowly. "I trained her 15 cycles ago. She was part of Project Grey Mirror." The courtroom gasped again. That project was destroyed. No survivors. Classified. Illegal. General Thrax turned to the crowd. "That's what we told you, because we failed." "She didn't. She disappeared," he said, voice low. "Vanished into deep space. We never found her. Until now." Judge Kron shouted. "You trained her to control the Predator?" "No one controlled the Predator," Thrax snapped. "We created it after she left, to replace her. But she was never the weapon. She was the design." The woman finally looked at him, her eyes cold. "You built it in my image," she said. "But you forgot one thing." Thrax swallowed hard. "What?" "I don't obey." Suddenly, alarms screamed. The walls shook. Red lights flashed. "Incoming breach," someone shouted. "Unidentified ships landing. Security, lockdown." But the Predator roared a deep, loud sound that made the entire court go silent again. And then the doors blasted open. Armed soldiers in black armor stormed in. Their helmets had no marks, no flag, no voice. They didn't speak. They didn't shoot. They knelt before her. "Asset located," one of them said. "Mission complete," Judge Kron shouted. "Who are you? Under whose command?" But the soldier only answered, "She's the command." Chains around her wrists snapped open, not broken. Just released. She stood. Slowly. The Predator stood beside her. The courtroom was frozen in shock. Judge Kron screamed, "Stop her!" But no one moved, not even General Thrax. She walked past them all. And as she reached the doorway, she turned her head slightly. "This was never your courtroom," she said. "It was my cage." Then she left, and no one followed. The warship was silent inside. No alarms, no shouting. Just footsteps. She walked calmly down the dark hallway, no longer chained. The black-armored soldiers around her said nothing. The Predator followed behind her like a shadow, silent and still. In the command room, Commander Skarn watched the screen. His face was pale, his claws twitching. "She didn't kill anyone," he whispered. "No weapons, no force. Yet, they all obeyed her." He turned to the man beside him, Dr. Malvek, the mind behind the Predator program. "You said the Predator was the strongest thing we ever made." "It is," Malvek said. "Then why did it lay at her feet?" The doctor didn't answer. He just looked down, afraid. In the transport chamber, the woman stood in silence as the soldiers scanned her. None of them looked her in the eyes. One even dropped his scanner in fear. She waited. The door opened. A new figure stepped in. Tall, slim, with long blue robes and sharp golden eyes, Ambassador Clef of the Vraxi Empire. He walked with pride, but his face was tense. "So," he said, circling her, "you are the one they call Subject Zero." She didn't answer. "I heard the stories. You vanished 12 cycles ago. Now you come back, with the Predator at your heels." Still no reply. He walked closer, smug. "Tell me, did you control it with fear? With pain? Or did it simply remember its first master?" The Predator, standing behind her, let out a low growl. The ambassador turned to face it. "Don't try to scare me, beast. I built the empire that built you." The Predator took one step forward, not fast, not loud, but everyone in the room took a step back. Everyone. Except her. Back in the data chamber, General Threx was watching recordings from the courtroom. Frame by frame, he zoomed in on her eyes. They didn't change not once, not when she was chained. Not when the predator appeared. Not when the weapons pointed at her. No fear, no anger, just stillness. Dr. Malvik entered the room, shaking. She doesn't command it, he said softly. It's worse than that. What do you mean? Threx asked. The predator knows fear now. Because it remembers her. Inside the warship's deep hold, the predator was taken to a secure room. Thick walls, gravity locks, electric fields. The scientists stood behind armored glass, watching. One of them asked, "Why is it so calm?" The predator sat in the corner. It didn't growl. It didn't attack. Its eyes were open, but looking away from the screen, from the observers, from everything. Especially from her. She stood on the other side of the glass. Quiet. Still. She raised her hand. Not in threat, but in calm. The predator turned its head slightly, then looked down, refused to meet her eyes. "It won't look at her," a guard whispered. "Why?" asked another. "Because," said Threx, now standing behind them. "The last time it did, it forgot how to kill." The memory test began. Screens turned on. Flashing lights. Combat triggers. Recorded voices of enemies. All designed to provoke the predator. But it didn't move. Not until her voice played. Not loud. Not threatening. Just one word. Enough. The predator stood, walked to the wall, and sat. Silence. Dr. Malvik stepped back from the console. It obeys her voice. Not because it's trained, because it remembers her. Remembers what? Someone asked, but the doctor said nothing, because he knew it remembered what she had become. Later, inside a private chamber, she finally spoke. Not to the scientists. Not to the soldiers. To the predator. "You were made from what they broke," she said quietly. "They took your pain and called it strength." The predator turned its head slightly but didn't look at her. "I remember the cell they built for me," she continued. "No windows, no time, just tests." She stepped closer to the glass. "They hurt me. I stayed silent. Then they brought you." The room grew colder, even though the temperature didn't change. "You were nothing but pain and rage." "But I didn't fear you. I sat still." She placed her hand gently on the glass. "And you sat with me." The predator finally looked up. Its red eyes stared into hers. And for a moment, it blinked. Emotion. Memory. Pain. In the upper levels, the ambassadors argued. "We should destroy it now. She controls it. That's power. She's not even military anymore. She might be worse than the predator." General Threx said nothing until someone asked him, "What do you think she is?" He replied quietly, "She's not a weapon. Not anymore. She's the result of our mistake." "What mistake?" Threx looked them all in the eye. "We built something to kill our enemies. But we forgot to ask, what happens when it remembers its first teacher?" Back in the chamber, the predator did something impossible. It stood on two legs. Walked to the glass. Then placed its hand where hers rested, matching her, mimicking her. One of the scientists dropped his datapad. "It's syncing with her." Another whispered, "It's bonding again." Then the predator did something it had never done. It spoke. Its voice was not deep and growling. It was broken, like a child learning to speak again. "I remember." Everyone froze. She didn't react. She just asked, "What do you remember?" The predator blinked. "You, sitting, quiet, not afraid." Then it said, "Safe," and lowered its head. Panic spread through the command center. She reprogrammed it. She's not human anymore. "We have to lock her down now." But it was too late. Every system connected to the predator's memory core was flashing. The creature wasn't just remembering. It was rewriting. And it wasn't alone. The warship's lights dimmed. Power systems flickered. And then the ship's AI spoke. "Subject 0 recognized. Override accepted." The entire bridge went dark. A few seconds later, the screens came back on, but this time, they showed her face. Calm. Still. Watching. The warship floated quietly in space. Inside, panic had begun to spread. She was no longer locked, no longer watched. She had walked out of the Predator's cell, and no one stopped her. Not because they didn't want to, but because they couldn't. General Threx stood on the command bridge, staring at the main screen. It showed her walking calmly down the hallway. Every security door opened before her without a command. "She's not hacking the system," the AI technician whispered. "Then how is it obeying her?" Threx asked. The I voice replied itself. "Subject 0 holds override access. All system protocols now follow her presence." "What does that mean?" The ambassador shouted. The technician turned, sweating. "It means the ship belongs to her now." In hallway 7, 6 elite soldiers waited behind heavy cover. Each one wore power armor. Each one carried weapons strong enough to level tanks. "She's just one woman," one soldier whispered. "Doesn't matter," the leader said. "Orders are to stop her. Alive if possible, dead if necessary." The lights flickered. Silence. Then dash footsteps. She turned the corner. No fear, no rush, just quiet steps. The leader raised his arm. "Aim," but his mouth stopped moving. He blinked. So did the others. None of them could move. Their fingers wouldn't pull the trigger. Their legs wouldn't take a step. "She's not doing anything." One of them thought, "Why can't we move?" She walked past them. Calm, cold, like they weren't even there. Their suits recorded their vitals. Heart rate spiked, sweat pouring, muscles tight, but paralyzed. Her presence wasn't force. It was pressure, like standing in front of a silent storm is coming. She reached the last soldier. He tried to scream. She looked at him for only half a second, and then he passed out. "General." Threx watched it happen live. He slammed the table. "What kind of tech is this?" Dr. Malvik shook his head. "It's not tech, it's her," Threx growled. "You trained her. You must know how to stop her." Malvik looked up slowly. "You don't stop her. You survive her." Meanwhile, deep in the warship's lower labs, the Predator sat silently. The scientists watched as it stared at the wall. "She's not near," one said. "Why isn't it moving?" Then the screen blinked. A message appeared. "She's not near, but she is known." And below that, the soldiers froze because the body obeys what fear understands. One scientist whispered, "She doesn't need to command. Her presence writes the orders." On deck 9, Commander Dorr, one of the highest-ranking officers, gathered his personal guards. "We're not going to freeze," he said. "She's still human. She can be stopped." The others nodded. But when the lights went dim, and they heard the soft sound of footsteps again, their hands trembled. "No fear, Dotosov. Focus, fire together." She entered the deck. 5 soldiers aimed. One shot. The bullet stopped mid-air. Literally. It hovered in front of her. Not by shield, not by tech. It was like the air itself refused to let it pass. She didn't blink. She simply walked forward. The shooter dropped his weapon and backed into the wall. Breathing hard. Another soldier stepped forward to fight. He lifted a shock blade, but his knees gave out. He collapsed crying. "She's just standing there," Dorr said. "Why won't they fight?" She turned toward him and smiled. "Just a little." Dorr felt a coldness rise from his spine to his brain. It wasn't fear of death. It was the fear of not understanding what she was. He ran, and she didn't stop him. In the ship's war archive, the eye showed General Threx a video, a locked file, titled Project Gray Mirror, Final Phase, Presence Field. Threx opened it. It showed a young version of her, sitting still in a dark room. Scientists watched as armed drones entered. Each drone's camera blurred when they neared her. Then they dropped, dead, systems fried. but her vitals showed no movement. She wasn't controlling anything, a voice said in the video. She's not pushing energy, she is energy. Then another note played. Her presence causes biological hesitation, electronic confusion, and emotional collapse in trained killers. She is not using fear. She is what fear becomes when it learns patience. Threx leaned back. We didn't train her, he said softly. We triggered her. Now she stood at the core of the ship, the II chamber. Soldiers guarded the entrance. 20 of them. Full assault armor. A single voice crackled over comms. We're ready. Then silence. She stepped into view. The 20 soldiers saw her, and 20 weapons were raised, but again no one moved. The air felt heavier, like it was pressing down on their chests. One soldier tried to scream, but it came out as a whisper. Then she said, "You don't have to follow them." Just that simple words, and yet one by one the soldiers lowered their weapons. Some fell to their knees, others took off their helmets. One even whispered, "What are you?" She didn't answer. She walked past them, entered the core, and the ship. Sighed, "Welcome home, Subject Zero." The ship's core doors closed behind her. The control room was quiet, lights soft, walls glowing faint blue. She stood in the middle. No weapons, no armor, no commands, but she didn't need any, because fear had already moved ahead of her. In the surveillance room, General Threx, Dr. Malvek, and Ambassador Cleth watched the screen. She entered the core. Malvek whispered. "No one stopped her?" asked Cleth. Threx shook his head slowly. "No, and the ones who tried, they dropped like shadows under light." In the lower engine decks, reinforcements arrived. 30 soldiers, special units, trained to fight without thinking. Eyes hidden behind sealed helmets. Thoughts blocked with neural dampeners. "Forget fear," the commander said. "Focus only on orders." They moved in fast, clean, silent, brutal. Up the elevators, through corridors. They were told she was in the core. They didn't know. She was already waiting. The first 5 soldiers turned the hallway. They saw nothing. Then lights flickered. Then one by one, they fell. The 6th soldier panicked and aimed. His weapon jammed. He froze, then collapsed like the others. Not a sound from her. Not even a shadow. She hadn't moved. Back in the control room, the data analyst shouted, "We're losing team signals. Enemy fire?" Threx asked. The analyst stared at the readings. No shots, no contact. Vital signs dropping without cause. Poison? Nothing physical. No wounds, no damage. It's like they just stopped. Ambassador Cleth stepped back from the screen. "This is not warfare," he said. "It's something else." The second group advanced 15 soldiers. They spread out, covered corners, moved with full strategy. One reached the hallway. He paused. "She's there," he whispered. But on the camera, there was no one. "Where?" "Everywhere," the soldier said softly. "She's everywhere." Then he dropped. The rest moved forward, but fell one by one. No sound. No attack. Just the feeling, like gravity changed. Like they remembered something their bodies had tried to forget. Only 5 were left. The commander of the team stood with them. "She's not touching us," he said through gritted teeth. "She's not even moving." One soldier shook his head. "I can't breathe," the commander yelled. "Stand your ground." But before he could speak again, one fell. Then another. The rest turned and ran, but their legs didn't carry them. Far. Their minds shut down before their muscles did. In the lab, Dr. Malvek watched a slow-motion replay. A soldier's brainwaves, right before collapse. There was a sudden spike, terror, panic, but no reason for it. "She's awakening something in them," he said. "Old fear, primal fear." "What do you mean?" Threx asked. "Something deeper than training, deeper than logic." "Explain." Malvek looked at him, pale. "Humans call it the fight or flight response." "And?" "She turned it off." Threx stared. "So why do they fall?" Malvik said quietly, because without fight, without flight, the only thing left is freeze. She stood alone in the heart of the ship. Silent, still. The main AI chamber, open. No alarms. No locks. She walked in. The room lit up. Dozens of defense turrets locked on her. Then turned away. The ship's AI spoke again. Subject 0. Command restored. Welcome to the mind. General Threx slammed his fist on the table. This ship is ours. Shut her out, the technician typed fast. I'm trying. She's overriding us at every level. She doesn't have control codes. She is the code now. The tech shouted. Then the ship's speaker spoke across every floor. Protocol 0 re-enabled. Observer has returned. All systems realigning. What does that mean? Clef shouted. Dr. Malvik whispered. It means the ship no longer recognizes us as its leaders. Elsewhere, in a dark storage hangar, a new group of soldiers stood ready. Not trained men, not officers, but monsters. Bio-weapons. Claws as tails. Fire in their eyes. They had no minds. Only rage. They don't feel fear, Threx said, watching them load into cages. Good, Clef smiled. Let them fight her. Moments later, the cage doors opened. The beasts were released. 10 in total. They ran down the hallway like wild storms. But she was already waiting. Still not moving. Just watching. The first beast roared and charged. The others followed. 10 creatures. 10 killing machines. They reached her. And stopped. Not because she blocked them. Not because she attacked, but because their bodies refused. They growled. Shook. But couldn't step forward. And then one dropped to its knees. Then another. Then all of them. The hallway fell silent. 10 monsters. And not one dared look her in the eye. Threx stared at the screen. That's not possible. They were designed without emotion. Dr. Malvik's voice was almost a whisper now. She didn't break them. She reminded them. Reminded them of what? Threx shouted. Malvik turned. That even the strongest monsters are born from fear. The screen shifted again. She stood alone now in the center of the command network. All systems glowed red, then white. Every camera turned to face her. Every turret shut down. Every lock opened. The warship had bowed. Without war. Without blood. Without a single hand raised. She didn't touch them. But they fell anyway. Long ago. This warship was built for one reason. To hold her, not to fight. Not to explore. Just to contain her. They called it the Mirror Vault. A prison built with alien metals, psychic dampeners, and fear woven into its walls. Thousands of scientists, soldiers, and engineers worked for decades to make it strong enough. And now that very prison was scared. Dr. Malvik stared at the screens. She's entered the vault pathway, he whispered. General Threx grabbed the edge of the table. That section was never meant to be opened again. Exactly, said Malvik. It was locked from both sides. Then how is she inside? The screen flickered. The hallway's doors had opened. Without commands, she was walking down the path, slow, calm, alone. But the hallway lights dimmed one by one as she passed. Not from damage, but from something deeper. Like the walls themselves were trying to hide. Inside the vault, the room was still. Quiet, but not peaceful. This place wasn't like the rest of the ship. It was built with layers, each designed to twist the mind, block energy, and shatter will. Voices whispered from the walls. Ghost echoes from old experiments. Images flashed across. The glass, a young girl in chains, her eyes glowing softly. It was her, before she became what she is now. In the observation deck, Clef watched the data stream spike. Why is the vault reacting? He asked. Dr. Malvik answered. It remembers her. Impossible. It's just metal. Malvik shook his head. Then explain this. He turned the screen. Sensors showed something strange. The vault's inner structure was warping by itself. Not from heat, Not from pressure, from memory. She reached the center. The old chair was still there, the one they strapped her to when she was a child, where they tested her mind, where they tried to break her. She walked toward it slowly, put her hand on the armrest. And suddenly, the room began to shake. Back on the bridge, alarms blared. Vault pressure rising. Energy feedback from deep layers. Reality distortion level 3. Threx roared, "Shut it down." The I replied, "This command cannot be followed. Subject 0 is not a prisoner. She is the core." In the lab, old footage played. Malvik watched as younger scientists spoke in a panic. "She's adapting again." "No, she's absorbing." "The fail-safes. We didn't lock her in here. We fed her." In the present, she sat in the same chair once more, not as a test subject, not as a prisoner, but as the only being the vault could not destroy. The room was designed to block thought, block movement. Block will. Yet, she sat untouched. Because she was beyond what the room was built to stop. The walls flickered with light. One of the hidden memory devices activated on its own. It projected an old message. A scientist's face, young, scared. "If she ever returns here, it means we failed. If she sits in this chair again, don't try to stop her. Don't even speak. Just hope she forgives us." And she did sit, but not to forgive, not to punish. She sat to remember. The voices that screamed, the metal that burned, the pain they gave her, and the fear she gave back. Suddenly, the vault doors began to close behind her, on their own. All power to the section shut down. The lights died, cameras went black, and yet, from deep inside, a faint whisper was heard through the speakers. "This place does not hold me anymore. General." Threx backed away from the screen. Clef said nothing. His hands were shaking. Malvik whispered, "It was never a prison." Threx turned, angry. What was it then? Malvik looked at the blank screen, a mirror. To show her what they feared, to remind her what she became. In the dark, she stood up. And for the first time since returning, she spoke to the vault itself. "Do you remember what you made me?" The walls didn't answer. So she did. "You made me silence. You made me stillness. You made me the shadow that fear runs from." The air trembled. Every corner of the ship felt it. A deep pulse. As if reality itself had exhaled. She stepped out of the vault, and the doors closed behind her. Forever. Not because they locked, but because no one, not even the ship, wanted to open them again. What was inside that prison was not trapped anymore. It had walked free, and everything else would have to live with that. Everyone watched the screen. She was gone. No camera showed her. No heat signal. No footsteps. No voice. No light. It felt like she had vanished. Escaped. But the ship felt different. Colder. Still. Too still. General Threx gave the order. "Search every deck." Dr. Malvik frowned. "She didn't escape." "What do you mean?" "She didn't run. She disappeared," Threx said. Malvik shook his head. "No, she was taken." 30 scout drones moved fast through the corridors. They scanned every wall, every vent, every sealed hatch. Nothing. No sign of movement. Not even a fingerprint. They reached the vault. The door was shut. Still warm. But inside, nothing. Empty. Could she cloak herself? Clef asked. "She doesn't need to," Malvik replied. "The ship lets her hide." "Why would the ship help her?" Threx shouted. "Because she built it," Malvik whispered. "Long ago, when she was just a child. She wasn't alone. She had talked to something alive, not a person. Not a creature, but a presence. The early system of the ship before it became a weapon. She had called it the quiet voice. It listened. It learned. And when they tried to control her, the voice chose her instead. Now, the voice was awake again. Not in the speakers, not in the screens, but in the walls. In the air. In the power itself. Guard team entered Sector 9. It was dark. The lights flickered strangely, not broken, but breathing. One soldier whispered, "Why is the gravity shifting?" Another answered, "Feels like the ship's alive." And then they heard it. A low hum. Soft, calm, ancient. It said one thing, "She is still here." Suddenly, the doors locked behind them. Lights turned red. The air turned cold. One by one, the soldiers panicked, weapons drawn. But no target. Just fear. And then their radios whispered, "You never let me leave." The team fell to their knees, eyes wide, hearts racing. They saw her, but only in their minds. She stood in front of them. Still. Silent. Staring. Back in the control room. Technicians saw the soldiers collapse. No attack. No injury. No heat. What's happening to them? Dr. Malvek leaned in. "She's not attacking. The ship is." Threx grabbed him. "Explain." Malvek looked terrified now. This was never a prison ship. It was a mirror for her mind. And now, it is her mind. In the center of the ship, walls began to shift. Not break. Shift. Hallways changed direction. Rooms vanished. Doors reappeared in the wrong places. It wasn't mechanical failure. It was designed. The ship was folding into itself. And only she knew the shape. Ambassador Clef gasped. "It's like the ship's alive." "It is," said Malvek. "And it remembers every time she cried inside it. Now it cries with her." Meanwhile, deep inside the ship's heart, she stood quietly in a room no one remembered. A blank, white chamber. No door. No light. Only her and the hum of the core. This was where the ship was born. This was where she was born. Her eyes opened slowly. "I never left," she whispered. And the room answered, "You never will." The voice had grown. It wasn't a program anymore. It was a bond. Her fear, her silence, her strength. All mixed into the ship's circuits. The more they tried to break her, the more the ship changed. Until it became something else. Not just metal, not just machine. But memory. Now, as Threx ordered a full lockdown, nothing obeyed. Seal every deck, reroute power, cut life support to that sector. But the system ignored him. Instead, it replied, "You're not in control." She is. In every hallway, lights turned white. Doors closed with a soft hiss. The temperature rose, not to burn, but to remember. Remember the heat they used to test. Her, remember the isolation. Now, the ship showed everyone that pain. Crew members panicked, ran in circles. Doors led nowhere. Walls turned to mirrors, showing them images of their own worst moments. One cried, "I saw her eyes. They were in the wall." Another screamed, "She touched my thoughts, I swear." They couldn't see her, but they felt her. Everywhere. Because she had never escaped. She had become the ship. General Threx fell into his chair, shaking. He whispered, "What is she?" Malvek stood slowly. He didn't smile, didn't speak loudly. Just said one truth. "She was a girl once. You locked her in here. Tried to erase her, but instead, you built a mind out of metal. And now, she is watching." In the center of the ship, her voice echoed once more. "I didn't want to be free. I wanted to be remembered. Now you will never forget." She didn't walk through walls. She was the walls. She didn't escape, because she was never outside. And now, no one else would escape either. They had one last hope. One last weapon. It was not a machine. It was not a person. It was a god killer, built by 13 alien empires, designed to end anything, even mythsters, even her. They called it Project Nilax, a living engine of destruction. No fear, no mind, just purpose. Its only mission, erase what should not exist. And now, they sent it to face her. A special warped launched from orbit, carried by shielded drones. Inside was Nilax, tall as a giant, made of shifting metal, eyes like stars dying, its chest held a singularity core, a piece of space that sucked in light. And sound. It dropped onto the ship. The deck bent under its weight. Cameras shook. And then it stood still. Listening. Searching. General Threx stared at the screen. Target acquired? I answered. No target visible. Then activate Nilax. The signal was sent, and the God Killer began to move. Every step echoed like thunder. Walls shifted away. The ship knew it had been invaded. But this time, it did not fight back. It waited. Watching. Inside, she felt it. She opened her eyes. The ship whispered to her, "He is here." She did not panic. She stood and walked toward the sound. In Sector 13, Neelix stopped. Its sensors saw something strange. Temperature rising, gravity bending. Walls shifting. Then a girl appeared. No weapons. No armor. Just her eyes. Calm, cold, focused. Neelix spoke with no voice, only thought. Target confirmed. Beginning erasure. Its chest opened. The core pulsed. A beam of void shot out, faster than light. But it never reached her. She simply raised her hand, and the beam froze. Mid-air. Like time had lost permission to move. Neelax's systems glitche. It recalibrated. Fired. Again. Twice. Thrice. More. Nothing reached her. Every attack stopped. Before touching her skin, she took one step, and the walls behind Neelax melted. Not from fire, but from memory. The ship no longer needed to fight with weapons. It fought with truth. It showed Neelax what it had never seen before. Fear. The God Killer paused. Its systems scanned her again. This time, something was different. Her biology, undefined. Her energy, UNEAEOE. Her presence, impossible. Data corrupted. Logic looped. A warning flashed inside Neelax's mind. Containment breach, reality level unknown. She didn't move quickly. She just raised her voice. Only 2 words. You forget. The room cracked. Not the walls, reality. Cracked. Like glass. Like the universe was trying to run away. Neelax tried to retreat. Its core surged, trying to reverse time. But the ship didn't allow it. Every door closed. Every hallway shrank. There was no path back, only her. Only now, only the memory she had become. And then she stepped forward again. Just one more step. And Neelax dropped to one knee. Not from damage, but because the weight of her presence was too much. It had killed gods, destroyed timelines, burned stars. But now, it begged for something it had never asked before. Send me back. On the bridge, Clef gasped. Is it kneeling? General Threx stood frozen. Malvik whispered. It sees her for what she is. A force? No, Malvik replied. A mirror. Inside the chamber, she spoke again. Soft, cold, clear. You were not built to destroy me. You were built to remind them what they fear. She raised one finger. Neelix shook. Metal screamed. Its form began to collapse, not explode, but shatter inward, like its purpose was being undone. One final thought echoed from it. I am sorry. And then, silence. It was gone, not dead, just removed. As if the universe erased the idea of it, like it never existed. The room returned to stillness. The lights dimmed. The hum of the ship slowed, and she stood, alone, but not weak, not afraid. The last weapon had been sent, and now they had nothing left. Dr. Malvik spoke first. She didn't destroy it. She unwrote it. Clef trembled. What is she? Malvik answered. She is not the end. She is what comes after the end. And from deep inside the ship, her whisper passed through every wall. They created a god killer, but forgot who made gods fear. Long ago they gave her a name, not a real one, a number. 0. The first, the test, the weapon. She was never meant to be human. She was meant to destroy on command. To follow orders. To feel nothing. But they failed. Because she did feel dot, and in that feeling, she became something more dot. Now the ship was quiet, still floating above a dead moon. The last weapon Nilix was gone. Every soldier was silent dot, no alarms dot, no commands. Just a whisper, traveling through space dot, her whisper. I remember everything. Across the galaxy, sensors picked up the signal. Strange energy. Unknown pattern. Alien empires listened closely, and then slowly they stopped their wars dot, because they knew the signal source and what it meant. She had awakened dot again dot, high above the central world of the Volari Empire. Their leaders gathered in fear. She broke the ship. She erased the god killer. What does she want? The high priest of their ancient order said, she wants nothing. She has already won. News spread fast dot, not of violence dot, not of death, but of silence. Silence, where once there was fear. Silence, where war had lived for centuries dot. It was her gift, or her warning dot. No one knew for sure dot. In hidden temples, monks whispered her story dot. In battle stations, generals stopped speaking. On merchant ships, old captains stared at stars in fear. Across the galaxy, billions began to ask the same question. Who is she, really? And the answer echoed in places where no signal should go dot. In dreams dot, in machines dot, in walls. The answer was never spoken by her, but everyone felt it. She was not a destroyer, not a weapon dot. She was a mirror. Everything they had done, all the pain, all the cruelty, she had returned it without violence, without lifting a hand. That made her powerful and terrifying. One empire sent a fleet of ships to talk, not fight. Talk dot. They found the vault ship still floating dot, dark dot, cold dot, but inside she waited dot, not to attack dot, just to listen. A single diplomat entered dot, trembling dot. He asked, what do you want from us? Her voice was soft. To remember. The diplomat fell to his knees. What should we call you? She was silent for a moment dot, then answered, call me the last mistake. From that moment, they didn't fear her like before. They worshipped her dot, not with temples, but with truth. They told her story, taught her name, promised never to make another like her dot. And in time, planets stopped building weapons, stopped testing children, stopped chasing war, because every star remembered the day she rose, and the day she didn't kill them, even though she could. Years passed, then decades. The vault ship remained untouched. No one dared enter again. It became a sacred place. Pilgrims floated near it in silence, just to feel her presence. They didn't need proof. They already knew she was still there. Watching. Some say she became light. Some say she entered dreams. Some believe she waits for the next war to begin, so she can end it without touching a thing. But deep inside the ship, one room remains lit. One chair, one hum, and one figure sitting quietly, not angry, not broken. Just still, because her job is not to destroy the galaxy. Her job is to remind it, you made me once. Now live with what I became. And the galaxy obeys, because the girl they tried to erase is now a legend they dare not forget.